pastor's kid, or watching preachers trying to cast out demons from the possessed in Paraguay. Or maybe it's my family kept moving into haunted houses over and over again. But I've always known that there was a world beyond what we could see, whether we call it spirit, or angels, or ghosts, or simply the supernatural. My story begins when I am 3, seeing a woman sitting on the steps inside our house. And it continues to this day here in Pittsburgh, where my wife constantly asks, "Did you see that?" My name is Chiwan Choi, and this is Are You There, Ghost? It's me, Chiwan. Of course, the title is a take on one of the first books I ever read. I am a writer, and I will be speaking with other writers about their experiences with the beyond, with the paranormal, and how those experiences have impacted their work. Because what are writers if not ghost makers? Welcome everyone to another episode of Are You There, Ghost? It's me, Chiwan. Today, I'm so happy to have a Pittsburgh-based writer and friend and drinking buddy, Michelle Renee Lane. Let me read you a little bit about her. Michelle Renee Lane holds an MFA in writing from in popular fiction from Seton Hall University. She writes dark speculative fiction about identity politics and women of color battling their inner demons while falling in love with monsters. Her work includes elements of fantasy, horror, romance, and erotica. Her debut novel, Invisible Chains from 2019, was nominated for a Bram Stoker Award. Book one of her erotic paranormal romance series, The Courtship of Nora Fagan, was released in 2022 by Stardust Romance. Please welcome the wonderful Michelle Renee Lane. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. It's been so long, like 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, yeah. Ages.
Before we get to anything, how's book two going?
I actually submitted the manuscript last week and got confirmation that the publisher has it and will start the process of editing it.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I know
thank
you were
you.
battling with that for a bit.
Yeah, it was a rough haul. Yeah.
uh, what was so challenging? What was, if you had to pick one thing that was the most challenging to you, what was it in finishing this draft?
Just battling my own brain, really. I kept putting up imaginary roadblocks for myself.
Uh-huh.
I feel like imposter syndrome was, at really high levels for some reason. And I don't know, I'm a fan of other, like, I like series of books because I like
Hmm.
getting really deep into characters and a story and settings. And so I read a lot of series as a reader.
Hmm.
And so when a series is not going the way that I want it, I get kind of critical, and I feel like I was doing that to myself as I was writing. I was worried that I was going to be doing the things in this series that trouble me when I'm reading other people's series of books. And so I kept just putting the brakes on instead of just allowing the process to happen. Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I was doing. Mhm.
I mean, was that a problem you ran into writing the first of this series?
No, because I feel like because it was the first book,
Uh-huh.
I was able to pretend that it was a standalone,
Ah, got it.
which is weird because my first novel, I kind of thought it was going to be like that too, but I've already started working on the follow up to that, so I guess that's going to be a series. I guess there will be probably 2, maybe 3 books
Uh-huh.
um, in that series, and so this I'm going to have to get over the idea that I'm not writing series of books because I think that's what I'm going to be doing. There will be standalone books probably, but I think that I get so attached to characters and places and themes that I want to keep working on those stories.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same feeling when I'm writing. Even when I'm writing poetry, like almost like, hey, this narrator, I want this narrator to stay around for a while.
Right.
So, is that scary? Is that overwhelming in a way? Like having to creating a character that you then don't want leaving you for a while.
Yeah, I guess. Because I mean, they kind of become friends in a way because they live in your brain for so long. They take up a lot of time in your waking and sleeping life, sometimes for me. Um, and there's a lot of chatter. My characters have a lot to say, whether it ends up on the page or not. They live inside me. And,
Mm.
you know, I write horror mainly. And unfortunately, a lot of these stories are kind of autobiographical too. So yeah, it's hard to let go of some of those characters because those characters are me.
Yeah. I know people ask me sometimes whether writing something um what's the word I'm looking for? Not therapeutic, but what's the word I'm looking for?
Cathartic.
Cathartic. See, I knew you would know it. um, and I have such mixed feelings about that because
Yeah,
it's like, I guess, but then I'm forcing myself to revisit trauma all the time.
yeah,
So you saying it's autobiographical? How does that work for you? Is it does it get too much sometimes?
it does. But what's been great is that um, each time I sit down to write something, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, whether it's a short story or a novel, what's happening for me is like when I wrote Invisible Chains, which was the first novel length thing I'd ever written, um, that was really scary because I did not realize that I was channeling myself into my work. And so every time I sat down to write another chapter or scene and kept seeing myself on the page, it really freaked me out, especially since it's a really that my character goes through some really difficult things. And it's about processing trauma and living through trauma and trying to come out on the other side, knowing yourself better, maybe being a bit
Mm.
stronger. And I think that that's kind of what I'm doing with